Hey everybody, it's Jennifer J. Welcome back. I am going to do a standalone segment today because I've been really sick and I missed Monday and I apologize. I talk about that a little bit in Thursdays, but some of you follow me on Facebook, and if you don't, feel free to friend me there. But I did a post recently, I think maybe yesterday, about Abram, who was then named Abraham. And so we're going to be in Genesis chapter 12, and also, hold your finger there, we're also going to be in Acts chapter 7. Acts is going to be in the New Testament. So Genesis is the very first book of the Bible, and then Acts is right after the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts. So Acts chapter 7. So, because in Acts, even though that's New Testament and Abraham obviously was Old Testament, but in this story, they're talking about Abraham. So that's why we're going to go there. So, and it goes back and gives us some history that the Genesis account does not give us. And so that's important because, you know, I've studied the Bible a long time, 37 and a half years, and not caught this, or I don't know, it might have been taught to me and I just didn't catch on, I don't know. But the other day, when I was talking to my son, Eric, some of you know him, I was needing some encouragement about being in Arizona. And excuse me while I try and get comfortable, because this is a rocking chair, and it kind of wants to move every time I move. So, as I was telling Eric that, you know, I felt like God was telling me to come here to Arizona. Like, I don't doubt that one little bit. Like, the answers were so clear and so speedy and so, you know, immediate. Just every time I would ask him anything about it, I had an answer, like right away. Very clear, crystal clear. No doubt that I am supposed to be in Arizona. But now I'm here. And it's like, okay, so now what? Like, now what? And I kind of know, like I know what Pastor Lucas said about don't move until God tells you to. So I know that I need to keep doing the last thing he told me until he tells me to do something different. I know that he's moving things even if I can't see it. But sometimes it gets discouraging, right? You're sitting here in a house by yourself in the middle of the desert without many friends, and you know, I have friends I text, I guess, but I don't really have any friends to hang out with really a lot. Sorry, Beth. I mean, we hang out once in a while, but anyway, I'm not saying that so you'll feel sorry for me. I'm just saying it feels like I'm just existing. Like I just get up and I just, you know, go through the day and I'm just existing. And like, what is the point? And so I needed some encouragement, as we all do from time to time. No shame in that. And I called my son Eric, and he reminded me about Abraham. Now he's studying the book of the book of Genesis right now as well, or the story of Abraham. And so that was fresh on his mind. I've been studying it as well, so it was really great timing, of course, because God. And so he reminded me, you know, God told Abram, he wasn't called Abraham yet in Genesis chapter 12. God told Abram to leave his family and his homeland and to go to the place where God would show him. But he didn't do that. He left, but he took family with him. And I never really caught that part. And so he went into the land of Canaan, and it wasn't, he was there, I don't want to say how many years. It was a long time. Until his father died. It was a long time because they developed a whole people group during that time. But the point is, until his father died, and then God spoke to him again. So like he went through this whole long spell of God not talking to him again, most likely because he hadn't done what God told him to do. He hadn't left his family. And it wasn't till then later too, because in Let's just read for a minute, okay? In chapter 12 of Genesis, the Lord said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to the land I will show you." Okay? And then in Acts chapter 7, it says, verse 2, and he said, "Brethren and fathers, listen, the God of glory appeared to our father Abram when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran, and said to him, Get out of your country and from your relatives and come to a land that I will show you. Then he came out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Haran. And from there, when his father was dead, he moved him to this land in which you now dwell. And God gave him no inheritance in it, not even enough to set his foot on. But even when Abram had no child, he promised to give it to him for a possession, and to his descendants after him." And what that's saying, God had already told him once to leave. This in verse 12 in Genesis, this is where God's telling him again. God comes to him again and tells him to leave. So, and I might be getting that all messed up, you guys. So I'm sick and I'm not thinking real clearly. But my point is, he told him to leave, and he told him to leave his father's house, but he took his father's house with him when he went. And so then when his father died, then he moved him to the next place. And then when him and his nephew, because he took his nephew Lot with him, and those of you that know your Bible know about Lot and his herdsmen, their herds had gotten so big that their herdsmen were arguing over whose animals got to eat where, and where they got to graze and where they got water. And so Abram said, "You know what, we've gotten too big and we need to divide. So look at the land, choose which side you want, and I'll take the other one." And Lot said, "I'll go over here." And so Abram said, "That's fine, then I'll go over here." And that's when God started to bless him. So God even worked, the situation, even though he hadn't done what he told him completely, God still grew his flocks and herds and blessed him. But he used that situation to cause them to divide, to cause him to need to separate. God had told him to separate, and God was going to bring that to pass. He needed to separate from his family. That was the point. And the reason that just spoke to me is because Abram is such a hero of the faith, such a hero of the Bible, but he's just a person too. He wasn't God, and he's just a person who loves God, and he had to learn to be faithful. He had to learn to trust God. He wasn't born just trusting God. And that just really made me feel better, I guess, because I mess up, and I don't ever doubt God, but I don't always do exactly what he told me either, because it doesn't always make sense. And this makes sense. So this must be what you really mean. Why do we do that? I don't know, but we do it. And so he really just made me feel better about myself and about what I'm doing. And he wants me to be home. He wants me to be with the grandkids and nearby. But he said, "Mom, you've got to stay. You can't go back to what's familiar. You've got to do what he's told you to do, because there's a point." The promise to Abram was that land was the promised land for his descendants. That was going to be Israel, right? And that was for the Jewish nation. That was for Abram's descendants. And he said, "You don't know why God has you in Arizona, and you don't know if you'll see it this side of heaven. But in eternity, you'll see it, and you'll reap the rewards, because you've got to be faithful to what he's told you to do, even if you don't understand it." And so even if all you do is get up and take your shower and get ready for work and do your job and, do your daily routine until he tells you to do something else, that's what you do. And each day, I took a second job at Target because the cost of living out here is higher, and I have the house still in Kansas, and I'm trying to get a place to rent here. So I took a second job, and in doing that, I meet a lot of people at Target. I talk to a lot of people. I really enjoy that job. It's crazy. It's mindless. It does not take a rocket scientist, you know. It doesn't take a lot of knowledge to do that job. And yet I greet people all day long, and I listen to their problems, and I listen to their joys when they're getting ready for a birthday party or a shower or whatever it is. They're so excited to talk to me. And some of them have asked me, I've had customers come back and ask how I'm feeling because they know I've been sick, and they're back in the store, and are you feeling any better? And, you know, starting to build relationships through that little cash register job at Target, which is crazy. I had one gal, it was not a busy night. This was before the students moved back. It wasn't busy, and there was no one else in line behind her, and she wanted to know what brought me to Arizona.